Yeah.
But since then, no, there's been very few other than them wanting to pick up their voting material that comes here for her.
Got it.
And those two big incidents, we don't communicate. He tried to tell me his email doesn't work, but I used to fix stuff. I know it works. I'm like,
yeah.
So, it's just been contentious ever since then.
That makes sense.
And I don't, for example, like my sink in my bathroom doesn't work. So I use the sink in the laundry area.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go to him when it's going to be an expensive fix.
Yeah.
Fix the bathroom. So I haven't gone to him.
That makes sense.
I know that's futile. Another argument just going to stress me.
For sure. Let's see. A couple more questions about the rent during the pandemic. You said that there were some months you paid the 25%. There were some months you paid the 50% to appease him, you said. How do you sort of decide what to pay? Yeah, can you walk me through a little bit more about how you decide what to pay?
Well, like I said, when they came out with the ordinance and I read it and understood, you had to pay, you initially had to pay at least 25% to fall under this umbrella of kind of protection in a sense, mm-hmm. that, when it all ends, you can't get evicted kind of thing. So I was paying that. And then in December, I decided, okay, I cut so many things back and I had enough and I don't need that much, right? That's one of the things you have learned in this whole thing is how little you need. I have a garden in the back that I get all my produce from now. Not all of it, but I get a lot of my produce from all the time now. Mm-hmm. And so I decided again to kind of appease him, I would pay the 50%. And then as I learned about the different ordinances and I realized that, one, that when they started the whole rental assistance program, I applied that day. I, figured out how to get in and get some assistance through Twitter and stuff like that, because of what I do, and was able to apply after a couple of days, unlike a lot of people in the initial website. And then there was no response, and I went that whole time, and I'm like, okay, if this thing it's more like a lottery. I might not actually get any of those money ever. And so it still might be that process of me having to repay all this money that I have back rent on. And so that was one of the reasons why I started paying the 50%, because I didn't want to get it too much more into the rears to have to pay it. And then two is when I stopped doing 50%, I went back to 25 and considered not paying anything at all. I was like, I should not pay the 50% or anything so mm-hmm. that I could save it so that if I do eventually have to pay down the road, I will have something. I won't be, finding another place to rent. My big concern has been that because my income is limited and has been nil for so long, that I'm going to have a hard time going and renting in another place, because the new landlord is going to want to look at my credit, which would be kind of screwed up. And I understand I'm not going to be on a list, but that still doesn't mean I'm not, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's still that risk, is being able to get another place to rent. So even if I got another place to rent or stay here for a period of time and this moratorium ends, my mindset is I'm going to have to pay $2,000 to $2,500 a month plus whatever payment plan I arrange with my landlord to repay. So if that's $1,000 a month, that means I'm going to have to be paying $3,500 a month, which I don't get, and which is far exceeds, to have that be 50% of my income, I'd have to be making $7,000 a month.
Absolutely.
All those calculations have come into play to try to figure out, all right, should I pay? Should I not? Right. Yeah. I decided to pay the 25 instead of the 50. All right. So that, if something changed, right? So that answers your question.
Yeah. And that leads into the next question really, really smoothly, which is there anything that would make you decide or force you to move? And then if so, where would you move?
I would move today if I could, just to not deal with the stress of dealing with him and them, right? And just I don't want to live here anymore. Like I said, I was going to move at the beginning of last year. My daughter wants to move. She, teenager, doesn't understand. She's like, we could just move. There's an apartment over. She's always sending me stuff on Zillow or whatever.
Yeah.
Apartment here. We can get it. Michael, we can't move because I don't have an income that I could show to be able to afford to pay.
That makes sense.
To answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah.
What the circumstance outside of me getting some additional income, finding a job, which I'm 60 years old. I'm in IT and I'm in social media.
Mm-hmm.
Social media, even more so, is more of a young people's business and other people's minds, even though I provide so many different, such a breadth of skill set and experience. But still, I'm 60 years old. Companies, see that, can find that. I've had a hard time finding any additional work.
That makes sense.
So explaining that to her about why we can't move and just go into another apartment, I don't know. I'd move today if I won the lottery. Hopefully I did tonight.
If you had the funds to move, would you choose to stay in the same neighborhood? Would you move elsewhere?
Actually, when I think about that from the standpoint of, winning the lottery,
mm-hmm.
I tell myself that I would want to stay in this neighborhood. I grew up here over on the other side of Crenshaw and Angeles Vista in that area. And then, I've grown up here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I moved for a short period to Redondo Beach, all white area, in 1990 through 98, I guess it was. You never feel, welcome or comfortable or accepted,
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. I loved the beach area, and I was single at the time. Decided to move and buy a house, and get married, which is a mistake. But, but at the same time, the things that we deal with in Leimert Park and in, the Crenshaw area, in a sense, the helicopters, the unrest, the police situation, the homelessness, all that stuff. I think I would move away for a time and invest here and eventually come back.
Interesting.
I don't know what I would do, right?
Yeah.
I know I would probably, the one thing that I would do if I could move today is I'd move closer to my daughter's high school in Hamilton High School, which is over in the Fairfax district.
Yep.
So it's easier for her to get to school.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to give you a list of a few things, and you can just say whether you've experienced this during the pandemic or not. So the first is housing discrimination.
Yeah, in a sense that I don't know if I wouldn't say it's racial discrimination, but it was housing discrimination in terms of people understanding the plight of needing or wanting to go somewhere. And you feel the discrimination because in Los Angeles and California, you can't fucking afford to move.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that is out there is just so, that in its essence is discrimination. They're not even giving you options.
Yep, I understand that.
Of where you could go to be able to afford to live on a, and I made relatively good money, but it's still a push.
I understand that. Have you faced illegal rent raises above 3%?
Yeah. He tried to, over the course of time, I said I had the family thing. He came in, every year or so and said, oh, I'm going to raise it this. And then I think the last one that he did was probably 2019 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to raise it to whatever it was. And I was like, dude, that's like, $100 or $200 more than it was.
Yeah.
A large, well over. And
yeah.
I can do whatever I want. Single family. Single family house. All that California rent doesn't apply. And it didn't.
Yeah.
Right? He did come back and change it, right? He never changed the actual agreement, which I had. But he did say, okay, I'm only going to raise it $50 or whatever it was.
Okay. Yeah.
But he only did that because of the family thing. But they've constantly, I can get $2,500, $3,000 for this house. Are you kidding me? Especially if the house next door was about to sell for 1.2. When I moved in here, it was like 300. The houses were going for 300,000. Crazy. Because of the metro. The whole metro gentrification crap.
Yeah. has your landlord ever refused to